Hello, you know I love an unboxing and you seem to love unboxings as well, and so I've got a fun one here. This package came from our friends at Creative Paradise and Stephanie, and so there are a couple of molds that they've had for a while that I just don't own, and so now I do. And here's the first one. This is GM 135, and let me show you. It says dot coaster, and so if you've watched their recent live, I love the dots piece that they've done, and so you can actually fill these little slots with with powder and create tiny dots using powder, which I just think is super fun. Now you could also use the whole mold and create a coaster out of it, but the idea of having those small little dots is fun. Here's another one, LF45. Ta-da! Another dots piece, so a little bit bigger dots. And you've seen I use their, I think it's LF145, that's even bigger dots still that I love. I use that mold. It's probably my most used mold in the studio, but I like that. And here's another one of those. And then, let's see if I can get this out without making a giant mess. Nope, making a mess. Oh well. Messes are meant to be cleaned up. This one, my friends, this hot little mold, LF261. I hope you caught their live because I'm gonna take credit for this one. I reached out to Stephanie and I said, I love your mold, but I need a small hearts mold. And look at this. Isn't this great? She said, I agree, let's make it. And here it is. It is a small hearts mold, similar, but on a smaller scale to their bigger one. Let me grab their bigger one and show you. Look, it's the same wonderful mold with 12 hearts in it. And I love this, and I use this all the time. But the small guys are fun because these are small enough that you can make them independents. They fit the pocket heart definition for me much better because they're smaller and fit into a coin purse or a pocket better. And people love them. People love hearts. And so here you go. We have a big heart mold, and now we have a little heart mold. And there are other little heart molds that are out there, but not any that fire 12 at a time. And this is great. So Stephanie, thank you for being such a great partner and listening to your customers and taking our ideas. You remember that I worked with Stephanie on that pause mold, and I love that pause mold, and I think it's been hopefully a relatively strong business success for them, and I predict great things for this heart mold. So stay tuned, and I'm going to go ahead and fire this puppy. All right, I'm about to show you why I love these molds so much. So the heart mold needs to be sprayed down with boron nitrile spray. This one is already sprayed and prepped and ready to go. And so I think these are fun because I can just use any random scraps that I have. So like I had done a project at one time and I had done this little flip mix and I had some left over. It's going into big hearts. And so, as you know, you can use glass over and over again. There's no such thing as scrap in our studios because we end up using it for something. And that's exactly the case here. So there's all that. Let's see, just to rebalance that a little bit, I'm gonna just scoop out a little bit. Looking for my little scoop tool. I seem to have lost my favorite one, but I'll use this one. I'm just gonna get a little bit of that out and just spread the love a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is fill it up with clear. And because you've got to remember, this is the bottom, the top is truly the top. Not all molds work that way, but in this case, this is the case. So in this mold, this is the case. So the bottom is the bottom and the top is the top. So I cap this with some clear glass and I'll get a really nice piece out of that. I have some other random frit from a different project. I made up a little frit mix. And you don't always have to cap with clear. It's certainly not necessary, but clear is cheap. It's cheaper than our colored glass is. And I actually love the depth and the dimension that clear will give you. Now, if you're new to this, the smaller the frit you use, the more bubbles you get. And clear, capping with clear, when I talk about that, I'm capping with giant chunks of coarse clear frit. This is frit that I made, but not powder. So powder, being the smallest form, is going to trap the most amount of bubbles, and you're just going to get something that's very cloudy. And that's not a look that you want, most likely. So the larger the frit, the fewer bubbles and the more clarity you end up with. I don't think I have enough to do a separate one, so I'm just gonna finish that off. This is all just random frit from random projects. This one, I don't think I'm gonna cap this one with clear. Why don't I just fill this up? So with these molds, there is a fill weight, a recommended fill weight. Let's see if it's on the label here. It is not, but you have to go to their website and look, and there's instructions for their molds and what the recommended fill weight is. And I am bad. I never, ever pay attention to fill weights. I just eyeball it. And so you want to kind of heap these up in the middle. And you can see I'm using a little toothbrush or paintbrush to just brush it away from the sides. What you want is for it to melt down the middle and push out to the edges. You don't want it to climb down the edges because you'll end up with potentially getting spikes in your pieces. And so ideally it is piled up and then in the middle, and then it flows outward. Here's a mix of some turquoise and French vanilla, again left over from something else. And I don't think I'll cap with clear on this one either. So I think I'll just fill this mold, and I'm gonna get lots of reactions. There's gonna be lots of basically brown reactions that happen between turquoise and French vanilla. There's already some in here because this had already been fired before, and it was a failed piece that then I turned into frit. So that's what that is. And so there's gonna be lots of reactions, and it's gonna be super fun. You just want to make sure as you're moving this glass around that you do not disrupt the zip. You don't want to scratch that and then scratch it into your piece. And you, if you scratch it, then you're more likely to have to re-zip your molds. If I'm careful, and I use a little bit of a lower firing schedule, so maybe a lower firing schedule and a longer hold time, I find I get more use out of these without having to reapply the zip. And zip is not cheap. We all know it to be somewhat expensive. Zip is the boron nitride spray brand that most use and prefer, as do I. And so because it's not cheap, you want to be careful with it and not scratch it. Okay, so these hearts are filled, I think, plenty. It's probably hard to see. I'll take a picture, but they're domed over nicely. And then I've used up some scrap frit. So now I'm going to use my clear and kind of carefully just mound my clear up in here. And again, I just want to make sure that as it's going to melt, it's all going to melt down into the mold. I just kind of have a heap here, and that should give me a nice finished piece. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these. I'm going to fire them in the kiln. For me, in the kiln, I'm probably going to go about 1450 for about 20 minutes or so. That's probably going to give me some nice rounded hearts, maybe 1460. So you have to know your kiln. I'll probably go 1460 for about 20 minutes, and then I will pull these out and show you what they look like. And I've already fired some of the larger hearts just a couple of days ago, and so I'll show you the comparison and the finished sizes. All right, here they are. So let me dump them out of the mold. and show you how some of these turned out. I guess I should have gotten something to clean these, but here you go. Here's what they look like. So look how awesome those are. Those are fun, the ones that had the frit in the very bottom. So it didn't take much colored frit, and then the rest is just clear glass. And let me show you the comparison here on the size. Here's the other mold. And so you can see much smaller. I mean, this could be a pocket heart, absolutely. This definitely. So there you go. I hope you found this interesting. I am so proud to know Stephanie and to be one of the very first to have this mold. If you are interested in this mold, I am filming this on the weekend before the Glass Craft and Bead Expo begins in Vegas. So it depends on when you watch this, but these are in limited supply. So there are going to be some for sale at the D&L booth in Vegas at the expo that starts on Friday, April 4th. So if you want one of these, they're not even shipping them from Creative Paradise yet. They will, but creativeparadiseglass.com. If you want one of these and you want to be one of the very first to own it, then you're going to need to be in Vegas and check out the D&L art or D&L glass supply booth in Vegas at the expo. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this. Catch you later. Bye-bye.